for the product that they're building. So I think overall, this design will be better suited to the beginner, intermediate, but also be available for the advanced skaters. We have the design coming right off of the existing overflow parking, so it will butt up against the parking there. And this feature runs basically the length of that, the width of the overflow parking area. So it's about a almost 67-foot run. It's about 30 feet wide. One of the bowls drops into about a 6-foot bowl. The smaller bowl that would be at the south end is about a 3-foot deep bowl with the run between the two. So we're very happy with the design. I'm not a skateboarder, so I'm relying on a subject matter expert, and that's Dreamland and Wade to make this design work and really capture what the community needs. So we're actually pretty pleased with the design they came up with.
Any questions for? No? Any questions? I think it looks self-explanatory. Self-explanatory. And you feel like this is within your budget?
It's within our budget. We went back to them and just told them it's a hard budget for us. So, and they have been, Dreamland, the builder, has been really good about working with us and keeping their costs. They've done a lot of work for free. They've donated a lot of their time and effort to get this design put together. And again, they're the subject matter experts, and they kind of understood by talking with Wade. It sounds like they really got a feel for what the community needs would be for the what I would call the first feature for the skate park. And there's room to expand. There's room to add decks, bigger decking, and we also have started to explore some above ground features that could be added for a lower cost. So,
well, on behalf of the community, whether you like skateboarding or not, this is a gift to the citizens, and I do appreciate you and your crew working hard through the years to get this money together to be able to give a gift to the community. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate the collaboration with the city. I know it's a long time coming, but I appreciate the support. And we're still on target for a September or October groundbreaking. So we still have an MOU to kind of finalize. I think there's basically two major points to kind of hammer out. And I don't know if that's something that the council has given authority to the city manager to finalize the negotiation, mainly so we can just stay on track and make sure that we're ready to go.
I feel fine with that. I mean, as long as the council does. You guys okay with that?
I'm not really objecting to the design, but I think that it's important to bring the MOU back before a council meeting because the other previous MOUs were brought before council. So just continuing with the precedent that's set.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So fair to say you'd be comfortable with him working with city manager?
Yeah, I think
once they hammered out
I think they're working through those details, but when a final draft is ready to be presented to council, just let's follow the same precedent that was.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that would be
Absolutely.
more than okay. Are you good with that?
Perfect. Yep. Makes sense.
With that? All right. All righty then. City manager, you have anything you want to say in regards to the skate park?
No, as was mentioned, we will work out the final details of the MOU and we'll bring it back when it's ready for adoption and hopefully in the near future here as the groundbreaking sounds like it's imminent.
Okay. All righty then. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again for this.
Absolutely. We'll go to the consent calendar. 237, anyone want to pull something? At the dais? Community, anyone in the community want to pull anything from 2 to 7? No? Online?
No hands raised. We will remind everyone that people on GoTo come in muted. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand and we can unmute you.
Okay,
This
then
time we have no hands raised.
we'll humor a motion.
I'll motion to approve consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay. We'll go on to staff communications at this time.
We'll start on that side with Trevin.
Thank you. Get you started with recreation updates. So we had, with adult soccer, we had the launch of the city's first adult soccer league. Registration opened June 1st and closed in July 12th. And we so far have some teams signed up. And we'll leave it open until we get a maximum of 6 teams. So if people still want to form a team, we'll still accept them. I think we had 3 or 4 teams. The season's scheduled for August 2nd to September 27th. And then for youth soccer, we closed on May 17th for signups, and we had 942 players, which is a little bit higher than when we counted a few weeks ago. So a lot of people came in at the end. And then we also have 13 youth scholarships. So that's 13 local residents that will get their fees reduced or waived through the Community Development Block Grant Program. And then player evaluations were held on June 10th through June 12th, and 315 players were able to check in and come to evaluations, which helped with draft, which was held on June 16th. Practices already started in July, and then the season will go ahead and start on August 1st. So that's all my updates for this meeting.
City Manager, you have anything?
I was just going to mention in the recreation area, the good work that we've done in sponsorships. San Jose.
At 12. That's
Oh,
pretty
yeah. We actually received 2 scholarships, sponsorships, sorry, slip. We have one for $5,000 from San Jose Earthquakes, and then we have one for, it's not confirmed yet, but I feel comfortable announcing it because we got an informal approval over email from $10,000 from Pacific Gas and Electric.
nice. That's awesome. Any questions up the dais for Trevin? No? Okay. Keep moving down the line here. Chief, what do you got?
So in June, overall activity, including calls for service, were up. Reported crime, however, was down. On June 18th, Officer Escalante and I, we participated in summer story time at the Escalon Library. I'm going to be doing it again this Thursday. On the 28th, we held interviews for the officer position. We have 4 people on the eligibility list. 2 are looking very promising for full-time, and then 2 reserves that we're going to be hopefully onboarding here. One of them hopefully will be starting beginning of September. Should be starting beginning of September after his background and everything is complete. On the 26th, the Explorers participated in the Explorer competition in Tracy. We used to participate regularly several years ago, back when Brookshire was the Explorer advisor. Since he left, I don't think we've participated in it. It came up this year. I asked our Explorers if they want to, had our Explorer advisor, which is Sergeant Zambrana, asked the Explorers if they wanted to participate. It was very short notice. They stepped up and they participated, and they came in number 1 in the traffic stop scenario.
That's awesome.
Let's see what other updates. We also last year or early this year, we applied for a DUI cannabis tax fund grant. Officer Maripau headed that. It looks like we were awarded that grant in the amount of $208,000, which will be for DUI saturation patrols, and will also fund a patrol vehicle or a DUI vehicle. That hopefully will be next meeting for approval. And we got the moving mode radars came in beginning of the month. Officer Gunter got them installed, and from January 1st to July 1st, we wrote 21 speeding citations. All officers wrote 21 speeding citations throughout the entire city. From July 1 to present, we've already written 13 speeding citations. Officer Gunter wrote 10 of them since the 11th. And the highest one was 87 and a 55 32 miles per hour over the speed limit. And all 10 of them are at least 13 miles per hour over the speed limit. So those came in and they're being put to good use. And I think that is it for me. Oh, and last month, Officer Gunter led the department in arrests with 12, and he also led the department in citations with 31. And I think for July, he might be leading in citations again.
Any questions for Chief at all?
No, but Officer Gunter, you're doing a great job. We appreciate you.
Yep. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Gunther.
Chief, you're doing a great job leading that crew. Keep up the good work.
Oh, and sorry, we also got Park Feet coming up on the 24th and the 25th. National Night Out on August 4th. And we're doing a Comb with the Cop, which is similar to Coffee with the Cop, but it'll be ice cream over at McDonald's on August 6th. So come on down and have a cone and a conversation.
Can't ever go wrong with that. Do you have anything else you wanted to put out there?
Oh, no, that was it.
All right, City Manager, everything? Okay, we'll go to Public Works. Mr. Cook?
We've been working on Park Feet a lot, and we've been doing a lot of water leaks lately, getting ready for industrial season, which is underway. And yeah, everybody's been working hard. I think everything looks pretty good around town so far.
Could you explain to the community what's going on with excuse me, the drilling, the boring on the streets and stuff?
Yep. We kind of ran into, well, there was some communication issues. We've had some meetings with all companies involved. We've smoothed some things out. We're headed in the right direction. I think a lot of folks were confused with the crack sealing job going on at the same time as the boring job. Those two separate jobs. And the PUE was a confusing thing for most folks, the public utilities easement. So we've been getting that information out to everybody and talking with a lot of people this week.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mr. Cook?
Yeah.
I know you're, after speaking with the city manager, I know you guys have been talking with AT&T.
Mhm.
Just in my neighborhood alone, I mean, the contractor has done a really lousy job when it comes to the sidewalks and the concrete Christie boxes, et cetera, et cetera. Can you or a member of the team really look at that? Because if that was a resident doing that, we would hold them to a certain standard, and we want to make sure that this AT&T contractor is not creating long-term maintenance issues for our residents.
We had a meeting today. All of that was addressed. We did a walkthrough. It was a good meeting. So yeah, we went, walked, looked, talked. Yeah. In the future, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Kay or Engel? Okay. Okay. City Manager?
First, if Celinda has anything.
You're in the wrong spot.
Doing dual duty here.
I know. Let's look at the treasurer report for June. June is the end month for our current fiscal year, so that entails a little bit more work. We have a June report that shows a point in time, and so that's included in the packet tonight. We are showing nothing out of the ordinary or unusual. All debts were met. We had that kind of in our register of demands. We're looking right here at having less expenses than we anticipated, which is great, and a little bit more money than we anticipated, which is also great. So we're still holding at about that 400,000 for the end of the year. The expenses will trickle in. We have some slow invoices at year end. That's just it every year. That's what happens. So once those vendors get us our invoices, we're able to post them. We'll have a better idea for our year end and our quarter report. So that should happen on our next meeting.
So not hold you to the fire, but you feet to the fire, but you feel like we're going to hit our targets.
Yes, we won't go over the expenses. We just don't have anything really large out there. We're looking for $5,000 invoices, $1,200, just little stragglers that haven't quite gotten it together in time. And then we have, I have already prepared all the depreciation and a few of the other GASB type items that provide expense for year end. So we're just kind of waiting. It's a little early still. Hopefully by the end of August, we'll have all this completed. And this overview really does help us get that number. We're looking right now at about 390 in budget surplus. So we've received more investments and we've received more Measure P money. And that's what's really helped us out. So that's always nice to see, 106% of our target for our revenue. And next year, now that we have these better numbers for Measure P, we can dial that in a little bit more. But I'd still like to get more money than we're expecting. Any questions or anything so far? I know this is kind of an overview.
I don't currently, but anyone on the dais have a question?
Yeah, what's the status of the audit?
It's ongoing. They're expecting to have something to us by the end of August. And I was hoping for it to be a little bit sooner. So we'll see. My last conversation with them, they didn't require any more documentation from us, but that always changes. And they were in for an in-person visit. We got a lot of stuff done while they were here. So we're just, again, waiting.
It's like watching paint dry.
It is.
Okay. City Manager, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, you may notice Celinda has shifted sides here. We did have a departure in city staff at the city clerk position. We are currently recruiting that position. It ended recently, so we will do some interviews here shortly and get someone on board. We thought we could handle it with existing staff, so we were going to try that for a bit. But we are filling the other duties with existing staff members that we have. Celinda did mention the budget surplus. That has been an item that council has requested come back for further discussion. We have a busy slate over the next 3 or 4 meetings. We plan to bring that back probably the first meeting in September. So not in August, but we'll probably bring that item back in September for your consideration. And that is all that I have to report tonight.
Anyone in the audience have a question for the staff? No? Online?
No hands raised.
Okay, we'll bring it back. So do matters presented from the audience. The public may address the city council on any item that is on the agenda at the time the item is called. The public may also address the city council on any item not on the agenda that is within the subject matter of the city of Escalon. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. You may state your name and address for the record. However, it is not required. Due to state law, action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda, except for brief responses. The council is prohibited from discussing an item not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to the staff and/or placed on a future agenda. The determination of whether an item is within the subject matter of the city is a discretionary decision made by the mayor. At this point, do we have any matters from the audience? No? Okay, online? No? Okay. We'll go to public hearing. City Manager, when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. We are on item, sorry, I was talking to the city attorney. Huh?
9.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Apologize for that.
No problem.
So we do have the item, and I think Trevin is going to present it, perhaps. And we do have our consultant online as well, Melanie with SCI. But this item, so we have 2 items related to the landscape and lighting districts. This first item is a special item that was brought forward by the residents of the Westwood Country District. They requested special improvements to be made in their park. That would require a 218 process. And so I think in May, we sent out ballots for the residents just in that neighborhood's consideration. And we have the ballots that have been returned actually on this table. So after we open the public hearing and collect all testimony from the public that there may be, we will actually pause, recess the meeting. We will go count ballots. And then after they're counted and tallied, we will read back into the public record how the vote went. If there was a majority protest, meaning more than 50% of the ballots submitted voted no, then the item does not pass. The residents do not want an increased assessment for improvements in the park, and that item is effectively dead. If it passes, then we will go through the process to adopt the resolution and implement the rate increase based on the residents' votes. So that is an introduction into the item, and I'll turn it over to Melanie and/or Trevin if there's any more information to share.
Thank you, City Manager. I only have brief comments because a lot of this you're already familiar with from the last two times that this has been brought to your attention. So as Jalen mentioned, there's a resolution that is on tonight's item. It is simply there in case the ballots show that they are in favor and you choose to proceed. If you can make your own decision after the ballots are counted. The district proposes new capital improvements at Swanson Park for a total estimated cost of $266,580 funded over fiscal year 26-27 and 27-28. And then I believe we have a diagram of the park improvements that's being loaded. While that's doing that, the annual assessment needed to fund these improvements exceeds the district's current adjusted maximum assessment rate, meaning it qualifies for an increased assessment under Prop 218. Because of that, property owner approval is required through a mailed protest ballot proceeding. Every single property owner has, at this point, received a ballot. I think there were 7 that came back to us unable to be sent. That's usually, we don't know exactly why, but most often it's because they had a mail forward submitted to USPS, and these ballots are not allowed to be forwarded, so they get returned to us. This happens when people sell their homes. They put a mail forwarding in, and then the ballots get returned to us. There was one instance where someone came today. I think they're in the audience. They came today saying they didn't get it, and it was for that exact reason. They're the new property owners. So we gave them the old property owner's ballot that was rightfully theirs, and they were able to complete it and participate. The proposed assessment rate is $1,092.98 per equivalent dwelling unit, which in this case simply means household, since all the houses are pretty identical in shape and size.
A quick question for you.
Yeah.
So, like when you sent those out and it was returned back, did we ever go to these other addresses and see if there's people actually living there or?
Oh, I checked like the property records, and the property records said it was the person, but it might be only the owner of the property gets the ballot, not the renter.
Okay, so they're rentals,
They're either
most likely.
they could be, or there's something else that went wrong. But only 6. There were only 6 or 7 of them that came back. Yeah.
Out of what, 200 and something?
I don't have the number in front of me. 120 maybe is. I would have to check the engineer's report.
186.
186, thank you.
186. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there wasn't a non-represented situation where.
Okay. So then, if approved, if the property owners approve it, and then this new rate would become the new maximum assessment rate, the new legal maximum. And then it would also include a new 3% annual adjustment thereafter. So right now, there's a 3% every year gets applied to the previous legal maximum. This would change the legal maximum.
And let me just, for clarity, this is specifically for their area, right?
This is just for Westwood.
So if we say hypothetically they vote for it, there's a little increase. That's not something that could then in the future be pushed on to another group.
Correct.
Okay.
It also sunsets after 2 years. So it's only for the park improvements themselves.
Gotcha.
Once it finishes paying for the improvements, which is on a 2-year schedule, it would go back to the current assessment plus the 3%, the 2 3%.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. In the packet, you'll find our consultant, SCI Consulting Group, prepared the engineer's report and the assessment methodology. And they're also online if you have any questions, but that concludes just the summary of the report that you have. And then also you'll see on the screens, this is the design for the park improvements. You see a basketball court and then a green area in the center for a swing set.
Any questions from the dais for Trevin? City Manager, do you have anything before we send it out?
Nothing further.
In the public, does anyone want to make a statement on this? If you do, we'll just kind of go one at a time if there's other people. Anyone else? No?
Yes.
Okay, come on up.
You can be one.
He's my.
Oh, you're together, right?
He's my
Yeah.
husband.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like that. I apologize. I meant different groups, sorry.
Debbie and Roy Fortino, we live on Swanson, directly across the street from the park. We did come in and talk, came into the office and we got the packet and we saw the plan. Of course, we submitted our vote. Our biggest problem with the whole idea is when they first set up this Westwood Assessment District back in 2004, I think, 22 years ago, they set it up for only the houses on half of the park. So our house is directly the last house that directly fronts the park. So the house next door to us pays nothing, or none of the other properties around the park do, all the way down the right side. So if you look at the map where the basketball court ends and then the playground is on the other side, our house is directly the line that separates that park. So our assessment would go up from $300 a year to $1,000 a year. And we have no young children. So when the playground came up, we were given notification, a card saying, hey, this is a proposal. If you want to do it, yes. So we voted for it. We had no young children, but we were good with having a playground. The kids, there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood.
It was a doable amount.
Yeah, it was a doable amount, and it's gone up every year, the 3% or whatever it is. And then the ballots came out to tell us how much it would cost. And the vote barely passed. A lot of people didn't even want to do that. So now we get an assessment that we were not given any prior notification, even though we live directly across the street from the park, that this was even something that was on any planning commission or any city council agenda prior to this. Then we got, in May, we got the little card saying, hey, this is the new benefit assessment. This is what we're going to do, a swing set and a basketball court, which is fine. I don't mind everybody coming over to the park and playing on it, but I don't want to pay for the whole thing for everybody over here as well. In fact, the side of the park where the basketball court is, none of those people pay into it.
Nothing.
They pay nothing into that assessment district.
22 years now.
We've been paying into it for 22 years.
We didn't mind. I mean, we knew the park was there when we first moved in. So we were glad to have a park, glad to have a playground.
Yeah.
It was all like done, top of the line. I mean, we knew everything that was going on. Now this comes up. I love basketball. I'd be over there all the time shooting baskets. I don't want to pay $1,000 a year to go over there and shoot a basket or two. If nobody else on the other side is paying a penny. I mean, we're over here. They got full use of everything. We're paying for it. I'm
Yeah.
not selfish. I mean, it was like, beneficial for kids and all that stuff. I don't mind,
But I mean,
$1,000
everybody
a year.
in that neighborhood should be paying into it, is how
yeah,
we
I mean,
feel.
I mean, I know there's zoning things and laws and all this kind of stuff, but after being there for that long, people on that side of the park should have some, responsibility also.
And I know that when we talked, the comment was made, well, they can join that assessment district if they vote to be in it.
I know.
Well, who's going to vote to be in it if they're getting it for free right now? They walk across the street and can play basketball and we're paying for it, I mean, it just doesn't seem like a logical, process. And especially to go up from $300 to $1,000. I mean, that's a humongous jump. That more than doubles it. It actually.
I do appreciate what you're saying. One thing, just so you know, this was brought to us by people in your area. So I think it wasn't our decision, like, hey, let's do this park kind of thing.
I get it.
So there's,
We have to go in there and get a basketball.
I get it. I'm just trying to explain to you a few things, caveats. There's that. And then I'm not sure, city manager, maybe you might be able to answer that. Are they in a different different group, or what's the?
Yeah, the way this LLD was formed, this subdivision was later than the subdivision to the south effectively. The park was actually added onto when the new subdivision went in, and the LLD was created for that new subdivision. And so the area to the south does not participate in the LLD. That is absolutely correct.
And I would just add, if I may, that it is kind of, we see this a lot with LID districts because as financing mechanisms came online more and more popular in California, that was about 90s and early 2000s. Agencies started going with LLDs and CFDs and benefit assessment districts and various types of things to help fund those. And it's kind of like properties that got in before that kind of got, they were lucky or fortunate in that regard. So even though they're adjacent to it and they get the benefit of it, they were in, you really, unless people are willing to tax themselves like you just alluded to, which most of the time is not the case, the only times you can kind of get the initial assessments on is when a new development comes on and the developer who owns all the property before it's sold off can vote to say yes on it. So that's typically how development and financing works in California. And unfortunately, it is the case that sometimes property right next to you, right next to the park, and this is not unique to Escalon, this is everywhere, doesn't have to pay the assessment. And it's really just a matter of timing.
Well,
I think, hold on a second, ma'am. I mean, I do think what they're saying is fairly logical. I mean, so I think there's a couple, they already have the vote going, right? But the other thought I had, and this might not be viable at this time, but because I wasn't aware of that either, to be honest with you, is this is what's on this side here. It's basically 2/3 of a park, right?
it's half. It's exactly half.
I mean, there's 3 streets.
Right.
There's not a street on this side, right? It's just houses.
Correct.
So it would make sense that maybe that district would have to pay 1/3 of the 3 sides potentially. I don't know if there's a way to assess both groups.
You can't go back and make an LLD retroactive.
Yeah,
houses that were built.
You'd have to create, that's what I was trying to say, you'd have to create a new LLAD for the
Yeah.
older development, and they would all have to agree to assess themselves.
Okay, so because this technically there's no overlap there. Is that what you're getting at? Okay.
And that's what I'm saying, as California's developed, there's a long story that I will not tell you, but as Prop 13 has come online and it limited property tax, the ad valorem property tax, California came with a bunch of other financial structures to compensate for the lack of property tax revenue. So LLDs, CFDs, benefit assessment districts, and other things came online with a lot more in 90s and 2000s, even though those things were on the books before, because obviously when Prop 13 passed in 72, it took a while for agencies to start to figure out. So unfortunately, it's just a function of chronology, not even proximity.
Well,
Can I make another comment?
okay, go for it.
We talked about the 3 sides, the 3 street sides, and the houses on the one end. Basically, the park is assessed right down the middle between those 2 houses. They face this way. So that assessment district goes straight down the middle between those houses, and every house on this side is also out of it, and every house on this side is in it. So it's basically half of the park, not 1/3. So say the house next to me starts the beginning of that street corner and comes around, and all of the houses down that street are also on that half of the park. So it's not here's my feeling about it. I feel like if they really want to have this, then maybe that should be the vote to see how many people in that side would like to join the benefit assessment district, if they can be included in knowing that it's going to fund a basketball court and a swing set, because there are a lot of kids on that side of the park that play in that park, which I have no problem with. There's a lot of soccer teams that go over there and play in it. It's just it's getting well used,
Yeah.
basically.
I get where you're coming from. I do think that sometimes I'd like to kick Newsom personally, but it is what it is, you know. I don't know if there's something we can do. You're saying essentially that the two parks come together in the middle of this park.
Yes.
So I'm fair to say there's two assessment areas that are coming together.
Well, one assessment area and one non-assessment area.
So everything on Crestwood was built in 1990.
Yeah.
And you can see literally where the color of the road changes on that map.
Mhm.
That's where the line is cut off, where the new development was built in 14 years later, where at that point LLDs and LMDs
Yeah.
all existed. So then they were applied to that.
So
I don't even know if there was a park there prior
So
to.
there's no
It was all dirt.
That was kind of what I anticipated. Is so they built that into the LLD in
So-
order to essentially finance the park, through the new houses that were being built in. That's kind of a common, government thing
So
to do.
just for clarity, there isn't an assessment group on the other side.
There's
Correct.
nothing there. No.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
gotcha.
It's about chronology, not proximity.
I'm just making sure I'm completely clear as far as where we're at, because as much as I would agree with you on it, I think it's a rock and a hard place legally. I don't know what we can do because it's a 218 vote. That's from your own people.
Right, but what I'm saying though is if you change the balloting to send the people on the other side, look, here's what we can do to this park if you agree to join this assessment district. I'm saying you'd have to have a vote for them to join, yes. But right now, they're getting the benefit of the swings, or the playground in the park, but maybe they want a basketball court, or they want to play a swing set. So maybe they would be willing to join the benefit assessment district in order to add those extras.
I don't know how you could realistically do that, but maybe.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a quick question of City Attorney?
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the houses that are on Crestwood, one of those households would have to petition us to start a 218 vote for them, right?
Yeah, so they would, one of the ways that it would start is they would petition the council, but they would have to form their own landscape lighting assessment district or maintenance district. There is no annexation, but they would have to go through the process of initiating that through some kind of petition process. And then the council could eventually get to the point where the council and the city would have to make the decision, because the council would do this at risk, to hire an engineer to do the engineer's reports, do the diagrams, do all of the pre-work. And at the very end of that process, it would do a 218, California Constitutional Prop 218 vote on the Crestwood or one of their properties. And you would have to have a majority of the property that, based on the assessed value of the property, they would have to agree to essentially assess themselves. And it's very hard, I'll just say this, it's possible, but it's very hard in a built environment as opposed to at the development stage, because you have the ownership is fractured as opposed to the one developer who's the landowner who is agreeing to it as part of the.
Because I think what the lady's saying is, which I don't see any way around it, is I don't think we can literally force them to not use the park. In other words,
Oh, we wouldn't say that.
well, no, you're
No,
saying to send it out to them to be to pay for part of it. Like, I guess we could send out a letter that says, hey, we'd really like you to be part of it, but I just don't see that being
What
realistic.
I'm saying is if the vote turns out that it's a no, a majority no.
Then
you don't want
then
to
you'd
have-
be real happy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to have it, but I just don't want to pay for everybody else that's using it.
I get what
on
you're
the
saying.
side. So, I mean, it's not like, we'd go broke if we had to pay an extra $700 a year, but I'm just saying it's not a friendly gesture.
Well, I get what you're saying, and unfortunately, I don't, as much as I would like to side on your side, I don't see where it's likely. I don't see how we can.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question here was just for clarity. Neither anyone who lives in that current LMD nor council could initiate this process. It would take those homes initiating that process themselves, correct?
The homes could initiate it. The council can also initiate proceedings to form an LOD. But again, you need to make sure there's the will of the people because it's a significant cost.
Yeah.
An undertaking you have to form an LOD from scratch. Doing the annual assessment or doing an increase like is being proposed today is a lot different than forming an LOD from scratch. It's just a lot more, it's possible. It's more of a risk.
And then one more clarifying question that I actually wanted to ask you. You've said it would increase your rate $700. You do realize that's only for 2 years, and then it would go back to the original amount,
Except that it
right?
never went down after the first one. I mean, we were assessed,
Well, this is for a specific thing.
no, well,
Yeah.
the playground was initially like that as well. And it was going to be this certain dollar amount to build a playground, and it was going to be for like a couple of years, I think. And then that never went away. And then it just went up like 3% a year. So when you say it'll go down after 2 years, maybe.
I understand. I don't trust government any more than the next guy.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to, to what it is that you're saying.
Yeah.
As far as the swing set goes, but it would have been the same, legally, it would have had to have been the same way where it sunset, once the playground
Right, but
equipment
then all of a
is paid
sudden the
for.
costs are more expensive.
Well, and yes, no matter what your
maintain
maintenance
it
costs, yes,
Okay,
we
so
deal with
you-
that every year about the maintenance costs
Yeah.
going up as we
Yeah.
talk about these LMDs. So,
Right. So when you say it'll go down after 2 years,
well, that $700 definitely would. We can't assess it any longer than that. It would have to go back to the maximum 3%,
Well, I think
3%.
you just said-
I will clarify, the $1,000 includes that $700 per year for the initial capital construction of those things. There will also be, just like there would be if we never had that $700, there will be a 3% escalator for maintenance. So that will get added on to whatever the 3% would have been from the 300. That will continue to grow, and that may be what the speaker's referring to.
right.
But I'm just saying that $700 difference will go down, but then you will get plus 3% every year again because there is an escalator.
Well, the way it sounded was that it was the $1,000 for the first 2 years, and then it could be 3% additional every year after that. That's kind of the way it came across.
And
Yeah.
to your point, ma'am,
I think that was probably a
just-
misunderstanding because it's 1,000, then it'll go back to the baseline and then 3% from there.
to your point, this isn't the first I've heard of it. So for staff in the future, if there's a temporary assessment of an additional $700, we need to make that abundantly clear because on these ballots, it wasn't clear. And the way that it read to the community was that it's going to go up to $1,000 and
Permanently. And
And-
I've received the same feedback. from
it was
residents
not
and
clear at all.
But the other part of it that was different than when we had the playground put in is we were actually notified because we are in that assessment district. We were notified initially about it for the public hearing for planning. We were never notified about this until we got the ballot. That was the first time we heard about it. I mean, we would have been at other council meetings or planning commission meetings. We would have brought up the topic of the division of the park back then. But because we were not notified of it, and we've lived in that house for 22 years, so it's not like we moved, it's the same address. So I think that would have been nice to have some notification that this was something in the planning phases at least.
Well, I don't know how we can fix that at this point, but I do agree with you on.
I mean, you can't fix that retroactively. I get
Yeah,
that,
but I do,
I'm just
I do
saying.
appreciate your input on it, and I do tend to lean your direction on it. But like I said, legally, it sounds like we kind of are handcuffed here.
Right, and I understand that. I mean, I worked for the city of Modesto. I did benefit assessment districts all the time.
Yeah.
So I totally understand what he's talking about. I've read all about the law. I know it has to have a vote, but it's just frustrating when you're stuck not even realizing that the other half of the park is not paying anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the future, we can maybe make it more abundantly clear for people to come in. I'm sorry, you were going to say something, sir?
I was just saying, Mr. Barber, he explained all the legal aspects of it, so we kind of understood. We didn't really have a leg to stand on, but we wanted to let our feelings be heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And besides, you're saying they have to open up their own assessment or.
They have to be in another benefit.
Yeah.
Assessment, but if they had been notified ahead of time, your vote could help us build this. If they don't have enough votes, it's not going to pass. But if they had a chance to vote two, and people in our assessment didn't vote for it, they had more people on that side, and it passed, it would have a say in it then, even though they're not legally binding to it. That's one way to do it. I mean,
What?
if they just had the opportunity to say, hey, we want a basketball court, yeah, we'll vote for it.
I do appreciate what you're saying. I do.
We'll express our opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand where you're coming from. I just think this is one of those times where, most things we can have a say in. This is something that I think that is unfortunately, between you and your group at this point because of where we're at in the voting process. So all I can hope for you is that it says no at this point, because I don't see anything that we can realistically do, unfortunately.
Well, there's one other thing I feel like I should point out about the plan. The one that I saw has the basketball court with it facing this way. I think you had it earlier, facing this way, but the end of the basketball court where kids are going to be shooting baskets, those balls are going to go right out into the street. I'm just saying, and we already have a lot of kids on our street riding those scooters up and down the street like crazy kids. And the ball's in the playground and it comes shooting out across the street and they're not paying attention and the cars are zipping through there. They're not even stopping at stop signs. So I would be concerned about that end of the court as well.
City manager, wasn't the court supposed to be fenced in?
No fence,
No fence around it? Okay.
no fence to conserve.
A valid thought, though.
Of course, I'd like to
Yeah.
compliment the Escalon PD on job they do with some of the traffic up and down
Yeah.
McHenry, because it's like Indy 500 after some time, and I'm so happy when I
Okay.
see somebody pull over, it's like, yes.
Well,
I shake my speed over, because sometimes I start to get up to 45.
we no problem. I appreciate your input on this. Anyone else like to speak on the same stuff?
Hi, good evening. My name is Cindy Cruz. I live at 1516 Sophie Lane. I just moved there 4 years ago, and this is the first that, when I got the ballot, it's the first that I heard about any of this proposal. I oppose it because, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm on a fixed income, Social Security, and $1,000 a year for the next 2 years makes a huge difference. So the other thing that I'm concerned about is safety, though. The park is going to be open and available to anyone, not just the neighborhood, but anyone in any other city as well. And I am concerned about the safety of who's going to be coming in. I live right across the street. There's going to be basketballs at what time of night? Is there going to be restrictions as far as what time that they can play basketball? I would like to at least know if this passes that there is some kind of restriction to hours, because I do not want to listen to
Yeah.
basketballs all night long.
Understandable. Probably have to get city manager maybe with chief and figure some,
All city parks close at dusk.
realistic thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, dusk is fine with you, right?
Yeah, that would be fine. That would be fine.
Then yeah, good
Yeah.
call.
Yeah, anytime, I live across the street from a park myself, and if there's someone in there after hours, I have made phone calls to get them out when they shouldn't be in there. But yeah, there's all city parks close at dusk in the city of Escalon.
Thank you. Again, it's the safety of the area that I'm most concerned about. Thank you for listening.
Understandable. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on it? Yep, got one more.
Hi. Cody Fowler, 1550 Judith. First, I'll start with a question for Jaylen. Did we verify that the individual that proposed this is actually a property owner in the district?
I don't know if we No, I can't.
Then your ballot is null and void, because if they have to send the ballot to a property owner, then you need to make sure that the property is actually, or that guy is actually a property owner. There are a lot of rentals there. So as far as I'm concerned, your ballots are null and void. So we'll let you look into that, and I would almost not count the ballots. Right? City Attorney, do you have any comment on that?
No, I mean, they're sent to the registered owner of the property. And so the Prop 218, that's the process contemplated. So
I guess I think what
the
Cody's
person that proposed it is not, it's not consequential. Anyone can propose an idea. You could propose an idea to do that in that neighborhood.
Oh.
The question is, who's the actual one that's voting?
Okay, so let's keep that in mind. My next comment here, prevailing wage costs, right? We're paying prevailing wage for this, which is going to increase the cost significantly, are we not? Yeah, okay. So, I could go down to Costco and I could buy a basketball hoop and a swing set for 1 year's worth of fees on this thing. This going to translate to cranking my house payment up about $60 a month. I don't know about y'all, but not everybody here can afford $60 a month in that economy, in the economy we're in. I think we already talked about that. I work, my wife works, we work good jobs, we bust our ass. We had to bust our ass to get back to this town after my parents retired and left the state. So now I don't want to have to, keep paying more money when the entire city can use that park. And they will use that park. Soccer practice, they'll be using our basketball court and our swing set that just part of the neighborhood is paying for. The reality of it is the whole LMD process is blown wide open with this, because half the neighborhood that's next to it doesn't have to pay for it. I don't know about you, but I would vote hell no. I'm not going to create myself a landscape maintenance district, right? And pay extra money. That's just crazy. The other thing, well, yeah, soccer practice, Halloween. I mean, if any of you have ever trick-or-treated in my neighborhood, right? Am I wrong? I mean, there's 1 million people from out of town. Do you think those people are going to come use that park? That's vandalism, potentially, because that does happen. You guys have had to come out and clean graffiti off the playground and whatnot. That's additional people using it. Hell, for the price you're charging with if I could get rid of the prevailing wage, I could put a wall around it with an electronic gate to where only the residents of Westwood Country have access to it. I'll say it all day long. If I'm the only one paying for it, I'm the only one that's going to use that sucker. So yeah, this whole idea is wrong. I'm not sure who this guy is that decided it was a good idea to propose this, but he could have bought his own damn swing set and basketball hoop for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I think a lot of these can be done through nonprofits and at a fraction of the price. But reality is, with this current situation, we're stuck in a rock and a hard place. I think legally, we have to look at the votes at this point, right? Is
I
that
totally get it. It ain't on you guys. It's on the
Yeah.
guy that came up here to propose.
so?
But I want to make sure that guy actually pays his LMD fees, right? That he's a property owner, not a property renter, because he ain't paying the fees if he's not owning the place. That's all I got.
Appreciate your input, Cody. Anyone else on this? Okay, we'll go online.
No one online.
Okay, back to the dais. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to the residents that came to express their thoughts about it. I mean, that's how this works, right? And quite frequently, we see the chamber empty. So, kudos to you for at least understanding the process and showing up and speaking your mind. I
Maybe
appreciate that.
maybe in the future, maybe in the future, city manager, we can maybe get together with a few of them and just see where the pinch points are. So then we can hopefully avoid this kind of situation in the future, I think. And thank you. All right, at this point, we have to pause it. All right? Pause the meeting.
Yeah, I'll just say, as the first resident mentioned, this is a longstanding issue that has been exacerbated and really brought to a head based on this new vote. In all aspects, this is how the process works. A resident, and we believe they're a property owner, raised an issue. People want to see more amenities in their parks. They recognize that. We hear that all over. And there does seem to be some inequities unique to this situation. We understand that. So I think what we will do is count the votes right here live, and then we'll report back. And then the council in their discretion can determine how to proceed.
Ready?
So yes, we will pause. I think we will go to recess, formal recess.
Yes.
I would say about 15 minutes. And we will come back after the votes have been
We're going to count them live, you said.
We are going to count them. Yes.
All right. Sounds good. Take a little recess and do your thing.
You're not really closing
Yeah,
session.
this is just more.
I know. Interesting situation.
Celinda, can you turn the lights, Celinda, can you turn the lights off? I'm turning it up.
Testing? Okay. So,
We have.
drum roll.
Yes, informally tallied, but we definitely have a majority no vote.
Okay.
So it has not passed at the resident level. It was 54 no to 6 yes.
So you got what you needed. So, but in the future, we'll try to do a better job at seeing if we can't clear it up. There's obviously some disconnect there, so we got to figure it out. So thank you for your input on stuff, guys. All righty then, we go to number 10.
Okay, item number 10 will be continued until the August 17th meeting. So we have noticed it. We will continue it to a date certain, August 17th. There was a disconnect between city staff and the consultant on noticing of this item and the additional information that we plan to send out to each resident. So one of the things that we plan to do is put an itemized expense report from the prior year for each district and send it to each resident. Again, mistakenly, that was omitted in the process. So we plan to send that out this week, give about a month for the residents to get up to speed on that information. And then we will hold the public hearing on August 17th.
Sounds good. What about 10? Sorry, 11.
11?
What about 11? Did you guys have any
Separate.
Did you guys have any questions on 10 at all? So we're just postponing that, right?
Yeah,
We are continuing it to a date certain, August 17th.
and just for the record, you are opening the hearing and continuing it to the August 17th regular meeting. That's the action that's being taken.
If I'm opening it, I don't have to put it out, right?
No, there'll be public comment at the 17th.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're opening number 10, resolution XX-26. And we're pushing it down the road to, you said August 17th. Okay. And we'll close it now?
No, close it. Don't
So,
close it.
gotcha. Keep it open. All right, we'll go on to number 11 now.
Trevin?
Thank you, City Manager. This item tonight for item number 11 is to present two coordinated actions that further our long-term economic development prospects and advances a recommendation from the Economic Development Committee heard a couple weeks ago. The first one is to formally nominate Census Tract 4906 for Opportunity Zone 2.0 designation. I'll get into that in a second, but I just wanted to summarize the two items. And then the second one is the city would declare its intent to initiate formation of an enhanced infrastructure finance district covering Liberty Business Park and surrounding industrial areas. So why this matters and why it's up tonight for a decision. The federal government is selecting a limited number of rural census tracts to receive a 30% investment tax credit that would be applied to capital gains over the next 10 years under what's called the Opportunity Zone 2.0 as created under the One Big Beautiful Bill. There was a previous Opportunity Zone program in the last decade from 2016 that has since expired, and this is its successor. Under the successor, Escalon tract qualifies under the Treasury's newer, stricter rural criteria and is one of the few eligible rural tracts in California to receive the enhanced 30% tax credit. What distinguishes that is that any of the other eligible census tracts, if they don't have the extra bonus of being rural, only get a 10% capital gains tax credit. The deadline to submit the nomination is tonight at midnight. We just wanted the council to be able to have the opportunity to vote on this resolution, which is a part of the local agency recommendation. So this action, it directly supports our strategic plan. I'll go through the staff report now that I went through the summary. It directly supports the strategic plan priority number 1 for economic development. It strengthens our ability to attract industrial, commercial, manufacturing, bioeconomy, and infrastructure investment. And the EIFD complements the OZ nomination by declaring that we have long-term public sector readiness to support infrastructure and development. Over the past year and a half, the city has built a pretty strong foundation for economic development, including business outreach, employer engagement, new business support incentives and grants, the launch of the new economic development strategic plan, industrial readiness work at Liberty Business Park, and coordination with Caltrans at the State Route 120 and Brennan Road intersection. These efforts demonstrate that we have credible development pathways, which the Governor's Office of Economic Development has emphasized as essential for Opportunity Zone 2.0 competitiveness. One of the facets of this program is that governors of each state have a limited number of census tracts out of a pool of census tracts that are eligible on the Treasury's list, that the governor will have to go through and figure out which ones should he nominate for this designation. So we're competing with other municipal jurisdictions in the state of California to get the governor's attention and to convince him that this is a good census tract for him to nominate. One of the things that the governor's office will be looking at is development readiness. Most of the census tracts in the previous round of Opportunity Zone went undeveloped, untouched, and uninvested in. And so they don't want to nominate a census tract that's not going to actually garner investment capital. So one of the triggers is the city and is the local jurisdiction planning in infrastructure? And if they are, how is that going to support development? That brings us to our declaration to an intent to form an enhanced infrastructure finance district and establish a public finance authority. This would be the first step in creating an enhanced infrastructure finance district, is to declare your intent to do so and then to go study and come up with a financing plan. For this purposes, albeit it would be pretty rushed under normal circumstances, but for our purposes, we're simply adopting this resolution so that we can tell the governor that we're invested in researching this. We're invested in supporting the development of infrastructure here. But this resolution doesn't commit us to any financing. It doesn't commit us to actually establishing a district. It simply declares our intent to research one. So there's no committal on our side, but lots of positive points that we get to claim on our application for the Opportunity Zone. Does that mean that we're being completely disingenuous? No, I don't think that it does, because this council has talked numerous times about supporting infrastructure at Liberty Business Park. So I think the intent is clear that the council does indeed want to support infrastructure there. We're just formalizing that intent through a resolution. And so why this census tract? Why is it competitive? This census tract, I believe there's a picture in the staff report, maybe the next page. There it is. So this census tract is very large. You'll see on the map, the city of Escalon is down in the right-hand corner. And the census tract is highlighted in blue, or cyan. I don't know cyan. I don't know what that's technically called. It starts, you see that little tip that surrounds Escalon. That is Hogan Park. And that's I guess the tip of this census tract would be the skate park. That's where that tip is. And then it wraps around the city Liberty Business Park and then comes back down on Alray. Alray and McHenry is the boundary there. And so all of that includes the Eckert Cold Storage, Naragi Farms, as well as Line and Dacus orchard removal, and any other industrial users in that southern portion of the city. And then it wraps around up to State Route 120. And on 120, we have some future growth areas designated in our general plan for commercial. So there are already some pre-designated spots for development in this area, certainly around Eckert and the south part of the town, but around Liberty Business Park, as soon as there's water and sewer that crosses Brennan, we'll make that area particularly attractive for development once there's utilities there. There's also a portion of this I confirmed with the county in the county side, so not near the city, but over in the county side. There are 8 housing plan sites that are in the unincorporated area. And one of the things that the governor's office is looking for is housing sites. Is this going to support building housing? Because we all know how much the governor loves housing. And so that's part of the points. And fortunately, because we're able to confirm that with the county, we'll be able to benefit from those designations from the county's housing plan. So hopefully that gives you a brief background of the Opportunity Zone 2.0 program, why we're nominating the census tract so we can hopefully get the 30% tax credit to benefit our industrial developers. And then hopefully I gave you a little bit about the EIFD that makes sense on why you'd be nominating this at the same time. And then with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Trevin, do you have the graph for the EIFD that shows how the EIFD would work and the payback that you shared with the Economic Development Committee?
We don't have it loaded on this presentation. If Slinda's brave enough, she can navigate, because I connected this to our servers. If you go into the folder, you can go into Economic Development, and you can go to the Economic Development Committee agenda. It'd be one back in City Clerk files.
So Trevin, in plain
economic
English, this is basically allowing us to be more competitive with bringing in business that would then, in theory, create jobs and better sales tax base, right?
Correct.
Because reading through it, I didn't see anything that was like overly concerning, but I don't know if anyone on the dais did or not.
It's right above that one. Economic Development Committee.
Oh, almost.
Yeah, it was a lot to try and explain in one staff report.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the intent, is that there's no fiscal impact to the city at this time. We're just nominating in a resolution to the governor's office that we are declaring that we want to recommend this census tract for the governor's support and nomination to the Treasury. And then the second companion resolution is to designate the enterprise zone.
And just to be clear, that this is dealing with business only, right? We're not dealing with housing. This is only business, right?
So the governor would like to see both, but there's no action that we're doing that's going to permit or entitle a house to get built. That's not that's not on our consideration tonight. It would be attachment in number 3 in that list.
And so while we're looking at,
Yes,
to summarize, this council has focused on
Next one.
economic development. The Opportunity Zones is a federally run program that gives tax breaks.
One slide down.
That gives tax breaks for development of basically rural properties, and a greater percentage of a tax break in rural properties versus urban properties. They are trying to focus development on. And so we have a good opportunity here. That blue area that you saw, that was not an area that we picked. That is a federally recognized census tract, but it does incorporate some parts of the city. And so we do have an opportunity to spur development if we choose to submit an application as an opportunity zone. On top of that is a slide that council member has asked to be raised, and essentially an enhanced infrastructure financing district. If you see the baseline property value at the bottom, whatever the baseline is, if you create a district, any new development is going to increase the property value in that area. And so an increment of that increased property tax from the increased property value can go back into the district to fund infrastructure and further your economic development efforts.
Quick question for you, because I'm not seeing it either, and I don't know if anyone on the dais is seeing it, but I'm not seeing anything that screams it can be exploited in a negative way. So,
Right, so
is that like, am I just seeing something for what it is, or do we have concerns that it could be exploited in a negative direction?
no, so the reason I made the request for this graph to be pulled up is because the way that, and Trevin, stop me if I'm, or Jalen, stop me if I'm going the wrong direction. But the way this was explained to the Economic Development Committee, let's say you have a piece of property that's worth $100,000. Okay? Then something gets built and that property then all of a sudden now is valued at $300,000. You would use that delta of $200,000 if it was within the EIFD to pay back the revenue or pay back the cost of the enhanced infrastructure that was put in as part of the project. So in other words, you're spreading the cost. Instead of utility costs being front-loaded, now you're spreading the cost over based off of the valuation, the increased valuation of the property based on a development.
That's kind of how I understood it to be. I'm just, up here, I'm always looking to see what shoe to drop, so just making sure no one's come across anything. I looked at it, I
In
couldn't.
reviewing it, I see nothing but advantage, possibility, possibility for, growth in a good way, not forced growth that we're trying to.
Spot. What do you think, Councilman?
No, I'm definitely in favor. I looked through it. I'm not sure if I necessarily understood Councilman Stroman's explanation. I saw your eye twitch a couple times there. Was there a different take that you had or a different explanation or more layman terms?
Trevin, you did a great job of explaining it to us in the Economic Development Committee. You want to take a stab at it real quick?
I think Councilman Stroman captured it perfectly. The only thing I would want to add is that the action only declares council's intent to study a new district. So you're not forming one, you're not creating one. All of these questions that you have, if the council wanted to sincerely establish one to fund infrastructure improvements or bonds for infrastructure improvements, we would come back to you with what's called an infrastructure financing plan.
Well, I feel like if we don't invest in the future, we're going to be in the same spot. So I think sometimes you got to take educated risks. I think this is one of those times. So I feel good with it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone want to say anything before we put it out? Anyone in the community like to make a statement on this? No? We'll go to online.
You got Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary.
Concentrating, I forgot, and I missed your call to begin with. The difference between the delta, as we say, the difference between the $100,000 valuation and the $200,000 valuation, is that the property tax? So it's not $100,000, it's just the property tax it would generate.
Right.
Correct. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll bring it back to online. Okay, back to the dais. You need a vote?
Yes.
Okay. I'll humor a motion.
I'll motion to improve resolution XX-26, declaring our intent to initiate proceedings to establish the Escalon Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District as well as Opportunity Zone 2.0.
Well, second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right. On to administrative matters. Number 12.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. The next two items are agenda item requests. The first is number 12 here, which is from a resident. So I will just caveat this per the policy established by council, which is attached to the staff report. Council's purview tonight is not to debate or discuss the merits of the actual item, but to determine if you want to bring it back at a future meeting. And so I can go over what that is. So this is an item to consider a proposal for the potential purchase of city-owned property by a local business, Green Thumb Landscape. This is city-owned property that is behind Marval, south of Roosevelt Avenue, and adjacent to a storm drain basin that we have. This is extra land that has not been used. This business saw an opportunity potentially to relocate their business and have formally submitted an offer. for the city. Again, we're not discussing the merits of the offer or the actual, if we're going to purchase, but just if we want to bring the item back to council. And so you see attachment 2, we do have the proposal of the purchase. And then again, attachment 3 is the actual policy. So with that brief lead-in, happy to answer any questions that the council may have on this item.
I don't have any myself. Anyone on the dais have a question?
Just a brief question.
Okay.
So in the background and discussion and also additional conversations from staff, you mentioned that the process is that we would have to declare the land surplus. Can you expand upon that and then provide what kind of time frame you're looking at?
Absolutely. Thank you, council member, for reminding me of that. There's actually another item I'd like to provide information on as well. So per the California Surplus Land Act, which is codified in California Government Code, cities now, when they declare a piece of property surplus, and that's effectively what we're doing by even considering putting it up for sale, must first go out in a formal process to affordable housing developers first. So essentially, affordable housing developers get first right of refusal on the property. And so if we go through this process, we would have to go through the Surplus Land Act process. We would put the property up for potential purchase by an affordable housing developer before we negotiated. Now that process would take 3 to 4 months, probably, give or take, maybe 2 to 3 months to play out. You got to submit a notice of intent. You got to put it out there. You got to give time for the affordable housing developers to respond. And then if there's interest, there's a negotiation period. So once we go through that process, then we can get into the actual purchase, if that's what the council chooses.
And I would just say, to put a fine point on what he just said, is no pre-negotiations are allowed. So you couldn't even start the conversations with the potential seller. That would be a violation. You have to kind of ignore the seller and go through a whole Surplus Lands Act. And only if you make it through that process without entering into a contract with an affordable housing developer, then you can start those negotiations. Just want to make that clear.
So how likely is that? What's the breakdown when you put your stuff, put in the Surplus Land Act, does that look like it's a high probability that it would be scooped up? That is a little concerning to me.
Absolutely. There is no guarantee one way or the other, right? Everything is contingent on who views it and an opportunity that they see meeting the right time that they have resources and choose to develop. So we cannot predict what the likelihood will be, but that does lead to one other issue that we wanted to present. The most likely access to this property is through a driveway, effectively, that P&L Concrete currently uses. They own the driveway. That is not a public alley. They own the driveway. And so part of any negotiation would be coordinating with P&L for access to that driveway. So that is something else I want to share with the council as we talk about this overall topic. And so, how does, to your question, Mayor, how does access to the property affect residential development, and what would P&L as the property owner say about residential access to the property versus limited commercial access? We don't know, but this property does not have access to a public road, and therefore maybe a little more challenging to develop. It is off the beaten path for sure. It is behind a commercial shopping center, as well as directly in front of and adjacent to a storm basin. So
is that a question that we can ask P&L before we even decide on this?
We
I
have
think that's-
inquired, we have
that's
inquired of
no.
P&L and they have an initial reaction, but they are considering it and running it up their, basically corporate decision-making method. And so they will get back to us in the short term here.
I mean, I'd hate to postpone this and put it in a limbo, but I feel like that's something I'd need to know. I mean, because that's potentially can change the dynamic of that area of town.
And again, this is just to decide whether we want to have a discussion on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're not approving or denying or accepting.
I'm okay with the discussion. There's definitely information I would need to make any kind of decision on it.
I think
How do you guys feel about that? Thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm pretty locked in. I'll just keep my comments to myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
I was just going to say it's worth having a conversation about. Hopefully by the time it's brought back before the council, then we can hear what P&L has to say before a final decision is made.
Okay.
That's my thoughts as well. I really don't see somebody wanting to pick up this piece of property to turn it into residential. I can't imagine wanting to. I mean, when you look at the one side, you're like, oh, right behind, Marvell, that's probably not that big of a deal. But right next door to P&L, I really, really don't think anybody's going to want to be trying to build any kind of residential properties there. It doesn't make any sense.
And we're talking the little strip, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone in the public want to have a comment on this or have a thought on this thought? No? Anyone online?
No.
Okay. I guess we could humor a vote.
Well, it looks like there were at least 3 of you that were interested, so I think we have enough of a consensus. It just requires 2 council members.
Yeah, I'm a nay on that one for sure. No, I think it
It's a nay.
warrants a discussion, but I do want some more information. Okay.
Thank you. The next item is also, as I mentioned, an agenda item request. This one came from the mayor, supported by Councilmember Kay. And it is to, I'll just read the title here, review best course of action to manage presence of data centers in or near the city.
So the reason I brought this forward is there's a huge push across the nation to put in these data centers. When you look at really research it, there's some noise ordinance issues that create public health concerns, and not to mention water quality, air quality, and it's, in my opinion, not in the best interest of the community. So I think what I was hoping for was that the dais would be willing to come either to a moratorium until there's a public vote or some ban or something, because when I see these things and what their intent behind them, whether you put your conspiracy hat on or not, regardless, the air quality, water quality, and noise pollution is on another level when you research it. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
So my thoughts on it and why I was on board with bringing this is that if nothing else, I think we need to, in the event someone is looking to install one of these data centers in our town, if nothing else, it should come before council before any authorization is given for it. As far as, putting an outright ban, right up front, I don't know that that's necessarily, necessary right now, but.
Well, my thought is this would be a huge decision if something like that came here. And I don't think that's a decision the dais should even make. So personally, I think best course of action, in my opinion, would be a moratorium until there was a public vote on it.
Okay.
It would be kind of what I'd be thinking.
Yeah, just to what the options, because we don't want to go into a substantive discussion. There are some things that a general plan moratorium, you could take it, there are cities that have taken a vote to the voters. So those are the kinds of things we would be discussing in a potential ban, or the council could say we're not interested in anything. that would be the tenor of the discussion the next time. But there are some options. Some are harder to reverse. Some would be easier to reverse. Some are going to be, in concrete. Some are going to be in pencil. It just depends on what option the council chooses.
Personally, I would like it to be in the hands of the voters. That's just my thought. When it's something extremely large like this, that could be extremely disruptive.
And I think that's almost always our best course of action, is to put it in the hands of the voters.
I don't know. Any thoughts?
So I've done some research on this, and so I was actually interviewed for a couple positions to manage the construction of data centers. And I politely turned it down because the companies that were actually trying to recruit me to help manage the construction were focusing on smaller rural communities, particularly in the Midwest, moving westward to Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. Ironically enough, two of them, one was outside of Columbus, Ohio, and one was in Western Pennsylvania. And when I started asking specific information, one of these data centers that they were proposing to build utilized 6 million gallons of water a day. And as we all know, living in California, water is gold. And I know we're not getting into the specifics, and the discussion will come later, but we recognize the importance of water. And I don't think our current infrastructure could even remotely begin to handle the demand of 6 million gallons of water a day in a little town the size of Escalon.
So I guess the question for the council, obviously, after you make sure you go to public comment, would be, do you want us to agendize a discussion on this?
I would like to, but obviously it comes down to what these guys want to do. But anyone in the public want to comment on this? No? Go online?
No.
Okay. So I'm a yes. I don't know.
Same.
I would support that discussion.
So we're good with that?
Okay, yeah. You got enough.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll go to sorry, we're done with it. Council communications, sorry. Let's start with Councilman Kay.
I really don't have anything for this evening. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July, celebrating 250 years of our country. Looking forward to Park Feet this weekend. That's about all I got.
Okay. Councilman Engel.
Sure. Yeah, Park Feet. Yeah, this weekend coming up. Lions Club doing a great job putting that on, helping the town to have a good time. So see everybody out there. Speaking of Lions Club, I'd like to request an agenda item for a fee waiver for multiple fundraising events at the community center, with proceeds going to the Hogan Park expansion.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think it's going the right spot.
Do I need to get that on the official sheet as well? Or
No, because you've done
In
it.
the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councilman Stroman?
Yeah, I have a few things. Mr. Cook.
Yep.
Thank you for I like calling you Mr. Cook. Thank you for addressing the residents' complaints regarding AT&T. I think that's so, I don't know if there's a process that you guys identified, like a punch list where you're going to sign off acceptance, because technically it's an AT&T project. But I think it's important that we get verification from the city that this city has accepted, because some of the areas where they put down cold patch is just, it's sloppy work. And unfortunately, it's a reflection of the city of Escalon. So if we can make sure that we address that prior to releasing the contractor. Want to say congrats to Senior Mr. and Mrs. Escalon, Dave and Sally Mantooth, and thank you to Gracie and Debbie for setting up the luncheon for tomorrow. I have a work commitment, so I can't make it, but it's always a great community event. And so thank you, Gracie, and thank you, Debbie, for all your work. The other thing is, so when the One Voice trip came up for SJ Cog, Councilmember Engel brought up and looked for support from council to attend that, and then due to other commitments, he couldn't make it, and then it came to me as the alternate. And I have taken a very vested interest in the League of California Cities. And so their annual conference is slated for September 23rd through the 25th in Anaheim. And so the council previously has identified the mayors and council members roundtable in January to attend. And I think that we are now getting, the city of Escalon is gaining more visibility, especially in the League of California Cities. And so I wanted to see if I would have support of the council to potentially attend this event.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but what is the agenda? Are you gonna go, like, see if there's a group that's fighting SB 35 or SB 423 maybe?
I will look at the specific agenda items, but one of the things in the history that I've been on council is there's strength in numbers, and the issues that we are dealing with here within the city of Escalon are every city in the state of California is dealing with the same issues. I can get back to you with specific agenda item requests, but one of the things that I've recognized is that there's definitely strength in numbers. And that's why I am requesting to attend to really lobby on behalf of the residents of Escalon.
Well, I mean, if you want to take a crack at it, look at some things, I don't have a problem with that. Maybe you could bring it back to the dais to go over like what you learned and.
Absolutely, I'll report back.
Does he need another, is it just, needs three, right?
This technically would be since this wasn't agendized, this would have to be agendized.
Okay.
So we need two to support having that discussion.
I'd put it on the agenda if you just need two.
Yep. Okay.
And the last thing, and keep it brief, but there was a discussion earlier or this past weekend from a local business regarding weed abatement. And weed abatement is, so in speaking with the city manager, the way the process works is there are properties that are identified through code enforcement. And there are a handful of properties located throughout the city. Every single year, there's a problem with weed abatement. And I know that the council's position has somewhat been, it's private property, we don't want to touch it. Nor do we want to extend the city's resources to clean up those areas. But if you review section 10 in the municipal code, there's a very clear process as to how weed abatement is supposed to be handled. I'm not saying that the city is doing anything wrong, but the approach is a hands-off approach. And while I respect that, because it is personal property, I believe that many of these landowners that are causing the problems or problem children, if you will, and Mr. Cook, you can probably attest to it more than anybody, some of these properties, they're property owners who don't live within the city of Escalon. And quite honestly, I think they don't care. So the property that I mentioned in particular is directly behind Hula's. And if that lot catches on fire, yes, it doesn't necessarily affect that property owner, but it will affect our residents. It will affect businesses. And honestly, it's a really poor reflection of our city. And so I was wanting to get consensus from the council that we could have an open discussion talking about weed abatement. Because I understand that there's the approach of personal property, but it's a reflection of our city, and our residents and our businesses are being affected by it. So.
Yeah, I would be behind that. I think there's some rational, logical approaches you could take that are still hands off, but to a certain extent, you know what I mean? Like, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, at some point it becomes a public safety issue. So, yeah, I think that would be worth a conversation. I'd be behind that.
Noted.
I think, I'm not saying that we're gonna all start turning into, the public works crews are gonna be out there doing weed abatement. Jake, you guys have enough stuff to do on a daily basis, but.
No, he doesn't.
I didn't say that. Councilmember Case said that, just for the record, but I think we need to do it. We need to take it serious. One of the things we've also been talking about is the appearance along the railroad tracks. And the area along the railroad tracks is an area that, case in point, I mean, we're working really hard to try to improve our city, and yet some dumb property, and yeah, I said some dumb property owner that lives in the Bay Area is refusing to clean up their lot when one of our best restaurants in Hula's can't even get them to clean up their darn lot. And when they have people coming in from all over the area to support their car show, and people come in and see this lot full of weeds, that's a reflection of Hula's. That's a reflection of the city. And really, that's a reflection of all of us. So I think we should definitely make this a priority, especially going into 2027. So thank you for your support.
Yeah. Well, I don't have much for tonight other than thanks for your input earlier. It's always appreciated. Park Feet's coming up. If you can support both the Lions Club and Escalon Strong, that would be awesome. We're getting the privilege to work with Lions this year again, and it's been an honor working with you guys. And a lot of those proceeds are going right back into our community. So the more you can get down there and, buy a beer or buy something from that, I think you're running the beer booth, right? You guys?
Lions Club is running the beer booth, yes.
So don't get drunk, but maybe buy a few extra from the Lions Club. Other than that, I look forward to seeing Mr. Mantooth tomorrow. He was my principal when I was a kid, so I don't have much else to offer. I think we got to go to closed session next, so we're good. Adjourned.
Linda, I just read the back of this thing. I love it.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it really is.
Get the scanner to work.
I was like, this is cool to begin with, and then when I read the back of it, I went, that is freaking awesome.
The little white part goes in the
Yeah, I'll have
kind of thing, peel it away.
Oh, okay.
So you can see it. And you lower lines.
So
And they all fit in there, huh?
Yeah.
what's the word?
That's really, really cool.
Have you watched Young Washington?
You gotta watch it.
I started trying to download one of those, and then I got stuck on the
Picking up.
So young Washington was so popular. So now he's it's either called or 76. So young Washington basically takes get out leadership to when he was announced general.
Try to do stuff for them.
Continental Army.
I saw it running. I saw the girl.
Part two is taking it from there.
I don't know if you're with,
He has to watch it. Started training.
You can run the scooters.
No,
Well, the park, that's about
I love that. It's very, very cool.
Well, it's like a weird spot in the law because you have to have license.
I gave it to Taylor. And I didn't watch him. Hey, I swear I didn't eat it.
All right.
54 cents.
I know.
Sorry, I did lose track of it. You told me specifically, don't lose this.
We didn't lose it.
Yeah.
Later, Travis.
Sorry. No reportable action.
Bang, bang.
All right, man.
Good night.
Night.
Gentlemen, so for this one, I got a spot in the back of the truck for you.
Thanks, Fred. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going with it.
Thank you.
My wife-
Yeah, I will try.
Believe me, you have it. I'm couldn't be any happier.